getting dark, too dark to see. I feel I'm knocking on heaven's door. Knock, knock, knocking on heaven's door.
You know, they do have to, we do, as we make decisions on a level for the whole country, we do have to cater to people who really do believe wholeheartedly in their religion. We do have to cater to them.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I think that also builds up resentment in Orange, and like, you know what, why do we still babying these people?
Yeah.
And I think that contributes to the culture war a lot.
What do you think about the, we're going to talk a little bit more in spiral dynamics terms, in order to lead, be a leader of certain wavelengths in consciousness, you have to be a step ahead of the game. Like, you have to be, say, if we're going to lead an orange crowd, we have to be a little bit more orange to green. Like, they have to have a little bit of green's champion. Green would be this humanistic, relativistic, pluralistic type of meme or worldview. Are you pretty on board with this? Leaders of a particular meme or group of people or collection or corporation, they have to have this certain
leverage over the...
Yeah, certain leverage, and not just like, it's not physical power, it's
justified power.
According to spiral theory, it's a deeper level, more complex wavelength of consciousness that incorporates yet transcends its predecessor. It just sees a little bit more, a little bit deeper, and because it understands the previous qualities, and it can objectify them and criticize them, and that's kind of how it goes. Each predecessor has its classical kind of criticisms of the objective thing that it's going beyond, in a sense.
Right.
So how much of that do you buy into? Is it pretty reasonable in your eyes?
The presence of the hierarchy is the question, right? Like,
sure.
Is it justified? That, like, what I heard you trying to describe just before was like, should people who are more pluralistic, basically in the green level of the spectrum, should they be, you know, in charge of government and have more power in our society?
Well, because that's what I was going to say. You said you see America mostly in this orange meme, this achiever mode, capitalistic, materialistic, reductionistic kind of thing. Well, you say most of it, even some like documents, world-centric. Orange, let's be honest, orange is world-centric. So there are very noble qualities within this orange achiever meme, as in everybody's created equal, and science will be the judge. Not some god, not some book, but science and fact and objective knowledge will be the judge in this case. So under that, race is not an issue, gender is not an issue. So it's the first kind of world-centric meme.
Yeah.
So it's very noble in that case, but it does at the expense, but it's so objective, it disidentifies itself, right, from the environment.
Right. It's not Earth-centric.
It's not Earth.
It's world-centric, but it's not aware. It's not aware of the world as a living, breathing.
That's right.
Community of life. It considers it only in economic terms, it seems.
Sure, and even in a sense, humans don't have interiors; they are just objects, but equal objects nonetheless. So there's a step up from this unequal objects to now they're equal objects. When green comes about, they're no longer objects, but they're all subjects and intersubjects. So do you see the evolution of America? Is Europe more like this in your eyes? Is Canada more like this? More in this green environment, pluralistic, interconnected, acknowledging subjects kind of thing, more so.
AKA socialist.
Are they more social? Are they more, so that's what's going on here. Are these observations correct that these developmental psychologists have been making, like Gene Gebser and Claire Graves?
You know, I think as we move up the stages, we sort of, for example, if somebody believes in Jesus Christ wholeheartedly, that does have tangible effects in, you know, second quadrant, which is, you know, their actual physical makeup of their body.
Yeah.
It has effects in social quadrant, you know, with how they relate to the community and their own community and other communities, and it has an effect in the fourth quadrant. So, for example, somebody who's orange would say that, okay, this is all in your head, and maybe that just because it's in your head, it doesn't really mean too much. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say that as far as, you know, I don't want to just imply that all the higher stages lead to socialism or communism, possibly, but I would think that as you move up the stages, you do understand that everything is connected.
That's right.
So if you help out, for example, other people who don't have, that's also helping you out. It's not just helping other people.
Yeah.
You know, for like just to take healthcare, for example, if people go uninsured, you know, that's going to hurt people with insurance, for example. And I think most people, you know, at a higher stage were able to like get a bird's eye view to use their intelligences. And again, just because most people are at orange or amber doesn't mean that they don't have some intelligences that peak, you know, into the higher stages, I believe.
That's right.
So,
yeah, I think even Wilbur critiqued or commented on a person like Karl Rove as having access to turquoise strategy, as in because to get different parties together, but with a moral kind of gravity of an amber or blue, ethnocentric, little dirty, little, you know, little sneaky ethnocentric core, coded in this kind of turquoise or holistic, or not even holistic, but this integrative kind of bringing together the sides and really, I mean, how much
he had the skill, but
is Obama like that? I mean, is he more integrative? Is he better at just doing this? Is it? How much of that is appropriate? I mean,
well, I think, you know, even beginning to come to try to answer that question about, you know, where is a politician or where is the president coming from in terms of spiral dynamics? Don't we have to look at the way the government itself is structured and the way the systems around the president force him into certain behaviors and
I suppose the most accurate would really need to account for all, you know, all quadrants, all those lines.
Yeah,
you need the interior, which we don't fundamentally have. Only Barack Obama, maybe his close personals have it, and have a
I've
real.
only seen the guy on TV.
Yeah, have a real
You know?
understanding of what it is. Yeah, because to really understand the president, don't you think, Malcolm, is you need to view him not just as what you've seen on TV or that image of the president, but if you're going to understand how this man or woman, but in this case a man, making decisions, you need to understand all of their aspects of a life, like their artistic outlets, their social groups, their scientific, you know, all those understandings, how they function, are they exercising, are they doing these things, because these things all affect psychology. They're all leaving imprints on psychology that shape this masterpiece or chaotic mess of what it means to be a personality. So what we're aiming at, Malcolm, is this more integrated, holistic approach to viewing not only big things like the Earth and Gaia, but like we're talking about an individual human being who happens to be the president, right? This is going to change, you know, not only our projection to the future, once we know how this person is really operating from a fundamental, that means you need to ask them personal questions, like what kind of movies do you like to go to? What kind of dreams do you have? You know, really get down into the core of the person and acknowledge their humanity as an individual. And only then can you make these assumptions about this collective enigma that this human happens to be. So what this means is pointing at this integrative, holistic way. Is that for you? Like, do we need to do that? Like right now, do we need to do it fast? I mean, what do you see if we don't start changing our operating system to this integrative or holistic type of processor? If we don't do that, what's the consequence, Malcolm, that you've seen? What do you think's going to happen?
Well, I think we know that there's a certain expiration point as far as how these stages of consciousness can deal with modern problems. So we're not going to be able to deal with climate change because Jesus is going to end the world and climate change is not. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so we need to address people as far as what they understand, because okay, yeah, Jesus is going to end the world, but in the meantime, you don't want to pay more for gas, do you?
Yeah.
So we need to, really narrow it down into practical, into a practical solution.
Right. It's about
because there's a certain expiration point for the solution people could offer. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying it's about, just on a pragmatic level, you have to be able to communicate with all these different kinds of people, these different layers of society, whether they have a mythic worldview or a very rational economic worldview, or there are fewer that have sort of a more relativistic and pluralistic or even spiritual perspective. But you've got to be able to communicate to all of them because they're all here. We all inhabit the same planet, right?
Right, exactly.
I can't shoot them anymore.